Yeah, so let's crack it. Yeah, this is our tagline, which actually reflects our determination, our energy, our enthusiasm to work for it, right? So let's target the IELTS exam and ace it in the crack it in the very first go. So this is the message which Unacademy gives us, and this is a wonderful job the Unacademy team has done. So the team has got all of us together so that we can like work together and like ace the exam in a single go, right? So good evening everyone, this is Dr. Vibha Hans, one of your IELTS educators, and welcome to the YouTube channel of Unacademy, right? So I'll be just giving a small introduction for myself. I'm Dr. Vibha Hans. I'm a dentist by profession and an IELTS tutor by passion. And I am with my passion for quite some time now and into it, working together with wonderful students who are actually very sincere, striving very hard, and achieving their goals just with a little bit of guidance, just guiding the correct channel, right? So this class which I'm taking for today, this is called a special class. So this class is actually free for all of each one of you and all of you. So we will talk about what do we do actually in this class. We pick up any topic for the IELTS exam and we discuss it here, which is absolutely open to all of you. So in case you like this session, you can definitely get connected with us, where you will have an access to all the live sessions which we take, right? So we discuss each and every aspect, each and every module in depth, in details, and this comes out to be so interactive session. I think we can compare it to a one-on-one session, right? So we pick up various topics, and the topic for today is IELTS writing task 2, and I'll be discussing the example, taking into consideration the basic guidelines, how we start writing, the basic strategy of how we should start writing in the exam, right? So welcome all of you, those who have joined the session. I have my phone with me, so we can definitely, you can put on your comments and I can see those comments and will be replying it side by side, correct? So before I start, I would like to give you some benefits of why you should join an academy team, right? So when if you like the session, you would like to get in touch with us, and for getting in touch, this is the referral code. In case you want to subscribe to the team, listen to my lessons, so you can get an access using this referral code of mine. That's Dr. Vibha Hans, and this is my name. So if you join it, they are actually charging very, very minimal, and putting it in numbers, I would say it's only 2,700 per month. So in case you join the Unacademy, subscribe the Unacademy using this referral code, you will get a 10% discount even on that small amount, correct? So once you are a part of Unacademy, after subscribing, you can have an access to all the live lessons which I take. And it's not only my live sessions you can be a part of, you can have an access to the live sessions from all the top educators who are talking about IELTS, right? There is another scenario, for example, if there is a course going on and you are a part of it, but because of some XYZ reasons or XYZ urgency, you are unable to attend that particular session. So not to worry about that. All these sessions, they get recorded. So you have the link for those. You can definitely go back to the link and attend the session. So there is no void in your studies, right? So we'll talk about the topic. Let's make an interactive session. You can pour in your comments here and I'll definitely give an answer to that. All right. So as we all know, writing task 2 talks about an essay. This essay, the topics might be different in the general training and the academic training, but the strategy of writing, the technique of writing the essays remains the same. The topics will be different, could be related, could not be related, right? But the technique of how you have to attempt write your essay remains the same. So we have to actually pick up the technique. Once we know the technique, once we know the way, once we know what has to be written in the topics, whatever topic we get, I think all of us can write wonderfully over that. So what are the various steps when we have to write? If I say, if I divide the writing exam, writing module, I would say there are two parts to it. That is task 1 and task 2. So task 1, the total writing module carries 60 minutes, right? So for task 2, you should have devote not more than 40 minutes, and for task 1, not more than 20 minutes. Now, is it that whenever you get the question paper in front of you, because you have a limited time frame, you have the digital clock running in front of you, ticking in front of you, adding to your stress levels? So does that mean that whenever we get the question paper, we should immediately pick up our pens or pencils and start writing? No, it should not be that case, right? We have to utilize these 40 minutes in various steps, and these are the steps where we have to utilize it. The very first thing is planning. Planning is very, very important. Please do not consider this planning phase as a waste of time, right? It is indeed an investment of time. Why investment? Because if you invest your proper thoughts, if you invest your time in analyzing what you have to write in the essay, definitely that's going to work wonders for you, right? So this phase, is not going to take you more than 2 to 3 minutes. Now, what do you have to do in your planning phase? You have to first read the question, thoroughly, right? You might have to read the question twice, you might have to read the question thrice, but that's okay. Till the time you understand what the question actually talks about, what is the task of theme or task of the question, what they want you to answer, that's okay devoting 2 to 3 minutes here, right? Now, first thing is you have to read the question very carefully. And what is the other thing you have to do? The other thing is you have to make a chart there itself on the question paper, right, where you will be writing your keywords, what you have to write in your essay. For example, there is some question which talks about, do you agree or disagree? So this is the agreement point. So write point 1, point 2. Disagreement, write point 1, point 2. So this all comes in your planning phase. For this, you have to take at least 2 to 3 minutes to write this essay, to do these 2 points. After that, start writing your essay, correct? And you should also spare 2 to 3 minutes for your revision, and that is more than enough, right? So we'll talk about what you have to do in your revision time frame. We'll just get back to that once we are done with the essay. So if I calculate the time planning and revision, this comes out to be 5 minutes approximately. So for writing the essay, how much time do we get? 35 minutes. So this is what you have to practice, writing the essay in 35 minutes, right? Think for obvious ideas, very easy to use and understand, right? Don't use memorized sentences. Definitely, if I talk about words, you will have to learn the words, you will have to practice the words, but that's okay, as long as you are using those words accurately, right? So no memorized sentences as it is. Modify the sentences. You should be in a way, it should be everything like things are coming naturally out of you. Develop your ideas well. You should have developed the expertise of elaborating your idea as well in an interesting way, so that the examiner sentences, complex sentences, compound sentences, conditional sentences, right? Then we have the voice which talks about which is active voice or which is passive voice, right? And do not use the exclamations, right? That doesn't give a good impact of your writing, correct? So try to use all of these sentences by adding connectors. Alright, so you should know what connectors are, how they should be used. We're going to practice one example here where we'll be talking about all of these. So, vocabulary, whatever vocabulary you are using should be accurate, should be appropriately used. You should know the correct meaning of what you are using. Idioms, try to use at least 1 or 2 idioms in your entire essay. If possible, you should not miss a chance of writing an idiom. Talking about connectors, I would say when you're writing a complete essay, you should write at least 7 to 8 connectors, right? Yeah, I've talked about it, correct? So the connectors are going to make your simple sentences complex because they are the special words, they are the linking words which connect the two ideas. So this is how you have to practice. Now let's take up an example. The question is, although more and more people read news on the internet, newspapers will remain the most important source of news. Do you agree or disagree? So what sort of a question this is? This is an agreement or a disagreement. So this is the opinion essay where you are supposed to give your opinion, right? So what has to be the structure? In the structure, the first paragraph will be introduction. This is how we write, and you will be marked according to these things. These things will be checked very minutely. The next thing has to be a body, paragraph 1, then body, paragraph 2, and then finally conclusion. You must have at least these 4 paragraphs in your writing. If there is a possibility that you have to make up a third paragraph, that's okay, but these are the best. Do you agree or disagree? So the thesis statement is going to answer the question, right? Okay, just a second, I think. Yeah, hi Ben, how are you doing? Yeah, sorry, there was some error with this, so I was just correcting that. All right, so did we welcome to the group, welcome to this session, Ben. We are talking about writing task 2. Okay, so my question was, although more and more people read news on the internet, newspapers will remain the most important source of news. Do you agree or disagree? So what will be my general statement? That is, general statement, I'm talking about the keywords. So what are my keywords here? The keywords are internet and newspapers. So how do I write my general statement? It is irrefutable. Irrefutable means beyond doubt that a new wave of technology in the form of internet has taken over the conventional newspapers. So I'm talking about both my words here, that is internet and the newspapers. These are my keywords because my entire essay asks me something related to this, right? So I have used these. Now coming on to the background, paraphrase. Sorry, this has been wrongly written. This is the paraphrase. Now, what is the paraphrase? Let's see, a large group of people. Now, here they write more and more people. So, I change it into a large group of people, right? Read news on the internet. I have written are using internet. Okay. To keep them well versed with the news. However, so this is a connector which I have used. However, because this is now I'm going to talk about something contrasting, something different. So I have used the word however. Newspaper will continue being an indispensable mode, and this talks about newspapers will remain the most important source of news. I have changed it into the newspaper will continue being an indispensable mode. So what have I done? I have added some words, I have deleted some words, I have changed the position of the words, but the meaning of the question remains the same, right? Now coming on to the thesis statement, the question was, do you agree or disagree? Now I have to answer the question. So I say I disagree with the statement, and this essay discusses various legitimate reasons to endorse the statement, right? So this becomes my introduction. So if I write the introduction incomplete, how does it look? It is irrefutable that technology in the form of internet has taken over the conventional newspapers. A larger group of people are using internet to keep themselves versed with the news. However, newspaper will continue being an indispensable mode. I disagree with the statement, and this essay discusses various legitimate reasons to endorse the statement. Now, if I count my number of words, this comes out to be 55 words. So, the introduction is complete here. Now, what should be the requirements of the introduction? It should be within 50 to 60 words. You should not write more than 50 to 60 words, because writing these you will take approximately 5 to 6 minutes, right? You should use rather 1 to 2 linkers, that's the connectors. Let's see, did we use? Yes, we used 2 linkers, that is however and. So these are the 2 connectors which I have used, right? So divide your time. We had, if we just go back to the time which we had discussed earlier to write the essay, we had 35 minutes, if you remember. So for introduction, I take 5 minutes. I am left with 30 minutes now, right? So I will take another 5 minutes to write the conclusion. So I am left with 25 minutes. So 25 minutes and 2 paragraphs. So I think that's enough time. I have ample time to write 2 paragraphs in 25 minutes. So let's see what we have to write in the body paragraphs. It's body paragraph 1, where I'm going to talk about the agreement points. So the first thing has to be the main idea. Then I will explain my idea, and if possible, I will give an example. So this main idea, suppose I have 2 ideas to be mentioned here. So my first idea would be the stronger idea, right? So once I am done with this part, then if possible, I can write the second idea after that in the same paragraph, right? Now it is up to you. You can only mention it, or you can explain in short, right? So my first body paragraph is going to talk about agreement points. If I have 1 idea, that's okay. If I have 2 ideas, then also it's okay. So what is my main idea? To start with, now this is a good way to start your body paragraph. To start with, internet is one form of technology which has gained momentum in the recent years, right? Now, how do I explain this idea? I write, individuals of all age groups can utilize their smartphones and keep themselves abreast with the latest news stories. This pattern of usage is showing a steady increase, right? So I have talked about that internet is one technology which is becoming famous. Now, how do I explain that all age groups can utilize their phones and can use internet and be aware of the news, which is the latest updated news, right? And this pattern is actually becoming more and more common these days. So if I have to give an example, how do I give an example? I say, to have an access to internet, we have to just invest peanuts. So investing peanuts is a sort of collocation. It's a group of words, right? Invest peanuts. For example, now I give an example, I quote an example. In the run of competition, various companies offer top-notch plans at very reasonable prices, thereby maximizing its usage, right? So I have given an example. So in place of for example, I could have written, to quote an example, or what else, to illustrate. So these are the different words which you could use in place of for example, right? So if I just combine it, how does that go? To start with, internet is one form of technology which has gained momentum in the recent years. Individuals of all age groups can utilize their smartphones and keep themselves abreast with the latest news stories. This pattern of usage is showing a steady increase. To have an access to internet, we have to just invest peanuts. For example, in the run of competition, various companies offer top-notch plans at very reasonable prices, thereby maximizing its usage, right? So let me pick up the keywords. What have I used? That is connectors, which has gained momentum. Individuals of all utilize the smartphones and keep themselves abreast with the latest news. This pattern is showing a steady increase. To have an access to the internet, we have to just invest peanuts. Investing peanuts is a good way of saying. For example, in the run of competition, various companies offer top-notch plans at very reasonable prices, thereby maximizing. So what have I used? I have used 3 connectors here in this paragraph, right? So I have used the complex sentences here, and if I count the word limit, that comes out to be around 75 words. Okay, so this was my first body paragraph where I am talking about the agreement. Okay, so when I come to the body paragraph 2, following the same lines, how does that read? What do I write here? On the contrary, the usage of newspapers is declining in comparison to the yesteryears. Now, yesteryears is a way of saying when I'm talking about past. There are certain compelling reasons to justify this. In the present era, people are getting health conscious and environment friendly. Hence, they are resorting to practices like planting more and more trees to reduce pollution and conserving our resources. However, to procure paper for the newspapers, these trees have to be chopped off. This poses a considerable concern for the ecosystem we are residing in. Moreover, this incurs an extra cost for processing these trees to paper and printing. Now, what am I writing in this paragraph? I am talking about the disadvantages of using newspapers, right? What are the disadvantages? That people are getting so much conscious about the environment, about their health. So I mean, we are planting more and more trees. We are running drives which actually talk about afforestation, growing more and more trees, right? On the other hand, contrarily, if we need paper for the newspaper, so how is that going to come? For that, we will cut off the tree, correct? Because of that gaseous imbalance. Secondly, if we cut down the trees, the we are compromising with the environmental beauty, the natural beauty, by cutting down the trees. Why? Because green color is one color which is very soothing to the eyes. Third thing, if we cut down the trees, we are there are very high chances of soil erosion. Why? Because the roots of the trees, they are very helpful in holding the soil in position. The roots of the trees bind the soil, and if we chop off the trees, so there is again going to be soil erosion and lots of winds and giving a very bad impact. So what is the mankind today working on to conserve our natural resources? Because our natural resources are actually getting depleted at a very fast pace, right? So if we want paper for the newspaper, we need paper, right? And for paper, we'll have to cut down trees, and if we cut down the trees, there are so many negative impacts to the mankind, society, environment. Second thing is, if okay, from we have to take out paper from the woods, so that's going to give us take an extra cost. Over and above that, if you want to print the news for printing process, that's again going to take the extra cost. So we have basic two disadvantages of using newspapers. First is the environmental hazard, and second is the cost factor, right? If I talk about, that is negative for environment, and second reason was cost factor. Okay, so this comes out to be my second paragraph. Now let's see, have we used any connectors here? Let's see. On the contrary, so this is another way of starting. On the contrary, this also you can consider as a connector. You could also have used however in this place, right? Whereas, or looking on the other side of the lens, the other perspective talks about there is yet another aspect to the same idea. So there are so many ways. These are all the skeleton, which forms. So there are certain on the contrary, there are certain compelling reasons. In the present area, people are getting health conscious and environment friendly. Hence, they are resorting to practices like planting more trees to reduce pollution in resources. However, so since we have used on the contrary here, so we are using a different connector here, that's however. To procure paper for the newspaper, these trees have to be chopped off. So this poses a considerable concern for the ecosystem we are residing in. Moreover means in addition to. So we can use for this in addition to, or further more. So they all means, or to add to this. Incurs an extra cost for processing these trees to paper and printing. So we have used 4 connectors here. Correct? For writing the body paragraph 2. Now let's see how we write the conclusion. To conclude, weighing the pros and cons of the above situation, it is likely that the internet usage will continue to develop in the foreseeable future and might even replace the newspapers in the years to follow, right? So here I am using and, that's one connector, right? And if let me look at the word, how do I say weighing the to conclude. All right, when I'm writing the conclusion, I can start like this: to conclude, or to summarize. To You can write to summarize, or you can write to pen down, or you can say in the nutshell. All right, weighing the pros and cons of the above situation. So we are comparing both the aspects of it, the pros and the cons of the same situation. So it is likely that the internet usage will continue to develop in the foreseeable future, right? Foreseeable future means in the near future, what we can see, what we can predict. So this is how we have concluded, meaning that all the newspapers are using, but there is a likelihood that the internet might replace the newspapers in the years to come, right? So let's see how many connectors have we used. Talking about the introduction, I have used, no, this is a body paragraph, sorry. In the introduction, I have used 2 connectors, right? Then in the first body paragraph, I have used 3 connectors, that is 5. And when I talk about this, I have used 4 connectors, that is 9, and 1 hearsay. So in total, I have used 10 connectors in my essay, and that is more than enough. So this shows that I have the expertise to use a variety of sentences. I have a good hold of on my language, so that is the reason I can use a variety of these. Let's read the entire one. How does that go? All right. It is irrefutable that technology in the form of internet has taken over the conventional newspapers. A larger group of people are using internet to keep themselves versed with the news. However, newspaper will continue being an indispensable mode. I disagree with the statement, and this essay discusses various legitimate reasons to endorse the statement. To start with, internet is one form of technology which has gained momentum in the recent years. Individuals of all age groups can utilize their smartphones and keep themselves abreast with the latest news stories. This pattern of usage is showing a steady increase. To have an access to internet, we have to just invest peanuts. For example, in the run of competition, various companies offer top-notch plans at very reasonable prices, thereby maximizing its usage. On the contrary, the usage of newspapers is declining in comparison to the yesteryears. There are certain compelling reasons to justify this. In the present era, people are getting health conscious and environment friendly, hence they are resorting to practices like planting more and more trees to reduce pollution and conserving our resources. However, to procure paper for the newspapers, these trees have to be chopped off. This poses a considerable concern for the ecosystem we are residing in. Okay. Moreover, this incurs an extra cost for the processing these trees to paper and printing. To conclude, weighing the pros and cons of the above situation, it is likely that the internet usage will continue to develop in the foreseeable future and might even replace the newspapers in the years to follow. So this is how I completed my essay, and the total number of words is 261, which is very well the number of words which you wanted. So we have the target. So I can see Shivani Patel has joined. Hi Shivani. We are discussing the IELTS writing task 2 module, the essay. This is an example. So I was just giving the guidelines of how the essay has to be written. Now we'll just pick up the good vocab words, whatever we have used here. So let's see what are the words. That is irrefutable. The technology in the form of internet has taken over conventional newspapers. A larger group of people using internet to keep power. indispensable, legitimate, okay, let's leave it, which has gained momentum recent years. Individuals of all age groups can utilize their smartphones and keep themselves abreast with latest news stories. This pattern of usage is showing a steady increase. So these are all collocations where we are talking about the group of words. To have an access to internet, we have to invest peanuts. For example, in the run of competition, various companies offer top-notch plans at very reasonable prices, maximizing its usage. Use of newspapers is declining in comparison to yesteryears. There are certain compelling reasons to justify this. In the present era, people are getting health conscious and environment friendly, resorting to practices, okay, however, to procure paper, trees have to be chopped off. This poses a considerable concern for the ecosystem. Moreover, incurs an extra cost to weighing the pros and cons. The above situation will continue to develop in the foreseeable future. Alright, so irrefutable means undenied that. Yeah, irrefutable means beyond doubt, right? So it is irrefutable that nobody can argue on this point. Undoubtable. Sorry, some structures for task 2, ma'am. My exam is on 14th December. Yeah, so what do you want in particular, Shivani? Can you just elaborate a little bit? I've talked about the structure here. So give me your requirement, we'll sort it out here itself. Yeah, Shivani? Okay. Now, as I just mentioned, once you are written with the entire essay, you have to spare 2 to 3 minutes for your revision, and that is mandatory, right? So what all are you going to look for in your revision? You will check the grammar if you have made some mistake, right? You will check for the structure. Have you followed the correct structure? Are you talking about this structure, Shivani? Complex structures and some compounds, so I can use. Okay, I'll just talk about this, right? So structure means have you written it in the correct format? If you just revise it, and for example you come across that you knew the example but by mistake you have missed writing it, including it, so you can add your example here. This was the mistake which I committed in my exam. I wrote the entire essay, but when I was revising it, I just came across that I missed a very important example, so I just added on to my example, and that lifted my band score quite a lot. Yeah, we see that whatever we have written, is that effective or does that need some modification? Are my ideas very clear? So whatever I want to write in the essay, am I through that? Have I used good vocabulary or have I repeated my words? Because repetition of words and sentences should be avoided. Correct? So let's talk about the scoring criteria. So I think before that I can give an answer to Shivani. Shivani wants complex structures and some compounds, so I can use in task 1. See, do you actually know what are the complex sentences and what are the compound sentences? Okay, I can just give some example. For example, if I talk about a simple sentence, okay, so what structure? See, complex sentence is basically a sentence where you are connecting two ideas using a linker or a connector. For example, if my simple sentence talks about we should avoid eating sugars, so what idea does it convey? that we should not eat sugars, avoid eating sugars, right? Where, but if I add we should avoid eating sugars because it causes tooth decay. So this is the other idea, that sugars should be avoided. First idea is avoid eating sugars, and second idea is causes tooth decay. So we are connecting these two sentences using a connector called because, right? So this is how we are converting our simple sentence into a complex sentence. Now there are certain connectors. I can just give an idea. Shivani, I think this should serve your purpose. If we are talking about contrast, what has happened? Yeah, if I'm talking about the contrast, or this pen pen has stopped working. Okay, uh, I can just talk about like that. If I'm talking about the contrast, we can use the connectors like however, whereas, or alright, on the contrary. So these are the words which we can use if we are about to convey a different meaning. Alright. The other thing is, if I'm talking something in addition to add something, I can use in addition to, or furthermore, moreover, to add up, right? By adding so. These are the words which we can use. And it's not that you should always use a connector in the middle of the sentences. You can use it in the starting. For example, some reasoning, we say although and yet. So these two connectors should be used together in a single sentence. Although um, although sugars cause tooth decay, yet people eat sugars, right? So although and yet are the two connectors which have to be used together in a sentence, right? Then if you want to give some reasoning, you can talk about so, hence, because, therefore. So these are the words which you should be using. Or if you are generally, if you are talking like to summarize, we can say to summarize, to conclude, to adding sorry, to put it in a nutshell, or I pen down by saying so and so, so whatever you conclude. So which, that, these are all connectors. Means any word which is connecting the two ideas of two sentences and combining those two sentences into one single sentence is called the complex sentence. Compound, like if you are not using the connector and we are using some punctuation mark like sign of and or comma, so that forms it a compound sentence. Okay, so I think I could answer your question, Shivani. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the scoring criteria. How does the scoring criteria go? There are four different tasks, that is criteria, that is the task achievement, coherence, cohesion, lexical resources, and grammatical range. So all these four are important and they carry equal weightage, that is 25% of weightage each. Correct? So we have to be very careful about what we are writing and how we are writing. As the word itself talks about, task achievement means that is achievement of the task. What is the task here? That is written in the question. So what is the question that is asked? For example, the question talks about there has been an increase in the population. So what do you think could be the reasons to it, or how can we? Okay, let me just write. There has been an increase. There has been a steady increase in the population of our country. what do you think are the causes and how we can manage? Suppose this is our question, right? There has been a steady increase in the population of our country. What do you think are the causes and how we can manage? So what sort of a question this is? This is a cause and a solution type, right? So what is my task here? Do you think my task is population? If I start writing about population, so that will be wrong. However, my correct task, my correct question talks about increase in population, right? So this is what my task talks about. I have to, if I am writing my causes of increase in population and I am giving solutions to manage that increase in population, so I am achieving my task. So if I am doing that, means I am achieving my 25% of the target. Coming on to coherence and cohesion. If I talk about the coherence, it's talking about structure, and cohesion means flow. Coherence means structure, means we have a correct pattern, like we are writing introduction first, then we are writing the body paragraphs, then we are writing the body paragraphs 1 and 2, then we are writing the conclusion. So this is the structure of the essay, right? Cohesion, flow means one sentence is flowing into the other. They are all interrelated. So if I'm talking about introduction, my introduction is talking about the introduction of the keyword. If I'm talking about the body paragraphs 1 and 2, means we are talking about the same keyword. If I'm writing my causes, so my causes are related to that increase in population. If I'm talking about solutions, so that I'm talking about the solutions of that increase in population. So if I'm writing conclusion, in the conclusion I'll be summarizing only what I have written in my body paragraphs. I need not add any new ideas into it. Okay? Some suggestions for summary completion in reading module. After half an hour, Shivani, I have my reading session, so I think we can talk about this in that. It starts after half an hour, that's 6:30 to. There could be punctuation mistakes. There could be spelling mistakes. So we have to utilize the last revision time to pick up these. So these are the common mistakes if we know, because it's not that we don't know the correct spellings, but as a matter of fact, when we keep on writing the essay, we tend to commit some mistakes. So please utilize the revision time to pick up your own mistakes and correct those, right? So the other thing is, when we are writing the keywords, that's very important, because those keywords are actually pulling you back to the task. There is always a probability that we start writing something and we end up writing something in the essay, because actually there is brainstorming going on throughout. But if we just converge it into the ideation, we write the key points, what we have to talk about. So we will be sticking to the task, we will be achieving our task, and once we do that, means we are on the track. So this was all about writing task 2, that's the essay writing. I talked about the overview, guidelines, tips, techniques in my previous class, and today I was trying to still explain it more using an example, and this is what we did in the session. So any queries related to it, you can post in the this chat group. I'm still there on the session, so we can talk about it here itself. Now, I would like to just talk about this. If you like the session and you want to be a part of my other live sessions as well, where I talk about in detail about all the modules, all the aspects, all the tips, all the strategies of how we have to do. I take up speaking sessions separately, I take up reading sessions separately, listening sessions, writing task 1 separately for the academic module and the general training separate classes, and I take essay writing, this is writing task 2. So it's not that I try to complete everything in one class. I take a complete course that talks about say 1 hour daily or 1.5 hour daily or 2 hours daily, where I try to give you a lot of practice. I want you to be a part of it, right? And this is what I target for. So in case you like the session, you can get connected to Unacademy using this referral code. That's my name, Dr. Vibha Hans. And as I told the benefit, I'll just talk about them again. You can get a 10% discount on the membership. I think that comes to be around 2,400 rupees per month, right? First advantage. The second advantage is you can attend my live sessions, plus you can attend other live sessions also from other educators. Thirdly, everything is recorded. So in case you miss or you want to have practice that particular topic again, so everything is recorded here and you can go back to the link and watch the session again, right? Here you do not have to waste your time, your energy, your enthusiasm in searching for the exact thing what you want, right? Here all the educators are actually giving you the best prepared material, and there is wonderful material each educator is actually providing you with. So whatever topic you want, you can just go to that link and watch that session, right? So that's the advantage of getting a part of it. So with this, I conclude my today's session, and I would say best of luck for your exams. Shivani, you have your exam on 14th of December. Okay, you still have time. 14 days you have, and that's, I think, enough time where you can pick up your mistakes, you can learn the techniques which are really working for you, and keep on practicing. You know, there are so many strategies, so many approaches to take any module of this exam, be it writing, be it reading. So initially, you know, spend 1 or 2 days in actually going through all the techniques, and once you are done with that, then pick up your best strategy that's working best for you and just practice that, right? This is how you can give your best to it. But whatever you are writing, just be relaxed before you start writing. Keep yourself cool and calm. Relieve all your pressures. Maybe just use a pause therapy, 2 minutes meditation where you can remember your deity, or just take a sip of water, whatever is helpful for you. Before every your exam, you know, whenever you start writing, just relax for 2 minutes, or like even a couple of seconds is enough. Till the time, you know, they are distributing the question papers, you have that time to just relax, be calm, relieve all your stresses, manage your stresses well, and give your best for the exam, right? So this should be the technique, and I'm sure, you know, every one of us has a wonderful knowledge of the language, but the thing is, we do not actually know where and how to implement it correctly. So this is what we are going to channelize you in our sessions. This is what we aim to do, right? So I think with this I conclude my session. Best of luck, and I am coming back again after half an hour with my reading session, where I'll be talking about the guidelines and tips, so you can ask me any questions related to the reading module there. Okay, Shivani, thank you so much all of you for being there with me, and happy studying IELTS.